Welcome to the second part of this episode when we talk about the intersection of music, AI, and technology. I wanted to ask
Tell me.
you before I ask another question because you mentioned something about the education that we need to have. So
Yeah,
from the consultancy world or maybe the transformation world of that education path is light, I will say, because yes, the technology, like the AI is there, maybe self-training paths has been there, but then, and I will say, I will change the question because it's not just about the education, it's about also the ethics that we use or don't use. So what is the cost of actually not doing that from the very beginning? Doing the cost, I'm talking not just about business, private business, also I'm talking about the society in general and education or universities or high schools, for example. So where the teenagers are also more aware and also more exposed to the technology that is right there in front of
yeah,
their eyes. So, what is the cost of not implementing or not educating or not developing the ethics from the very beginning?
right. Well, when we talk about ethics, we can talk about two perspectives. The one that is
Mm.
the more generalized, which is what you're going to hear everywhere, which is the ethics of what we call AI ethics and compliance and making the algorithms fair and AI fairness and all these kind of concepts, which is very focused on the technology, right? And the other side of the coin, which is what I'm actually interested in, is the consequences, like the ethical consequences that this has in our society, which it doesn't, it is related, of course, but it's a different concept from working on algorithms that are ethic, right? I'm talking about, again, human to human experience and community, right.
Yes, I will just put you on, if I understood correctly, because yes, I'm focused on that second part too. From your student I'm pulling this that out from our previous conversation is are a lot of them want to run their own business, want to create something new, like entrepreneurs, right? So and also the others want to jump into consultancy or the first jobs, right? But what about the screening process? So there are a lot of all processes AI automated right now, but behind that, how do you know that actually was a rejection because you don't qualify in an objective way and there is no bias behind the technology implemented? So the ethics, to what extent does it work on that? Am I
Right.
correct on that? That is a consequence, or my
Yeah.
assumption is correct, or maybe it's not.
But are we is the question related to like the hiring process, like an HR related question?
Uh, yes, but I'm not focusing on HR. It's about interview. It's just entering into a system that could be a university system or could be a
Right.
consultancy, a first internship, for example, or even the work market. So
Right.
those filters now are mainly um covered by AI. So
Yes. Right.
that is why it's not HR on 100%.
No, 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 of course not. Yeah, okay, I understand now. So I guess when I was studying, um I'm like maybe 7 years ago, something like that. I was I remember everyone telling you, okay, you have to bring something else to the table, because everyone's going to be competing with you, and everyone's going to be, I mean, you're supposed to be as good as everyone. So you have to get there, but then you have to bring something else, right? And that's what you have to work on, the something else. But there are a bunch of things that you're supposed to have, right? So I guess, you know, when we're talking about AI interfering in these processes, in the end, it's becoming harder and harder and harder to really show what else you got, right? In especially in that junior level entry positions, because in the end, let's face it, companies don't need like 60 people working on Excel. Companies,
No, they
maybe.
don't, but they work. Sorry.
Yes, exactly. And AI is occupying these positions now, right? So I guess,
Yeah.
again, right? So if this is going to be the future, I mean, I'm happy for it, because I never liked Excel anyway. So maybe in my case specific, that's why I never made it in consultancy. So in my case, specifically, that would be an amazing news, right? Because I'm like, okay, so you already have this part covered, so let me focus on what I'm really good at, and I can give that to the company, right? The thing is that, for what I've seen, maybe I could be wrong here. For what I've seen, I guess companies are not prepared to have like a junior entry level position that already starts differently, in a way that is not, in the position of do this, do that, right? That is very technical, right? So you don't ask any questions, you just obey, right? Which is, we've all been through this. Um, but I guess, not everyone is prepared to occupy management or leadership positions, but this is what we sell at universities. But at the same time, we are teaching hard skills, which is technical skills, and at the same time, these are the skills that are going to be just not necessary anymore, because AI is going to be substituted, and the one that is big that's going to be controlling this AI, this tech junior entry level AI, is going to be the manager that knows how the company works. So it's going to be managing these agents or whatever, right? So what do we do, right? I guess one of the things that we can do is, again, um, empowering people to become more and more entrepreneurial in that sense, and to really go for the things that they want to do, because if you want to, either you are the best of the best of the best of the best, which you can be, and you get hired for that specific position, which is going to be more and more competitive, because the consequence of that is that junior positions are going to become more and more competitive, right? um, or either you find your way. And I'm not saying necessarily that you have to be like the entrepreneur, like crypto bro that goes and does, $10,000 a month, whatever, exploiting, crypto mines, whatever. No, I'm just saying that, precisely because everything is the way it is, we have an opportunity to kind of discover and spend time finding what are our passions and what do we want to do, what do we really want to do, what do we like, right? But of course, this is as hard as ever as well, because in the economy that we live, we need a minimum amount of money to live, right? And we need to pay rent, and we need to eat, and we need to whatever, right? So I guess again, this brings me back to what I said before. Who is the system working for? Is working for us, for the people, or are we working for the technology? And in the end, working for the technology means working for the tech oligarchs, which is the ultimate people that are going to be in control of this, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, tell me.
You pop up a few questions, very like a very disruptive questions that the audience, ask themselves about that. So, what is that one more tough questions that you would like to throw to the audience to ask themselves about the AI implementation within a different market and different industries? What is that tough question that need to be think about it before going directly into the AI?
Right. That's a hard question. Hmm.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
I guess what I would say is I may have to think for a while. Um, but take the time to find um, what you care about, because otherwise you are just gonna be one more in a chain of nonsense. So before going out there and taking on these tools and applying them and using them for amazing things, um, take a look at the inside and ask the questions that you think you have to ask yourself. Like don't neglect the uncomfortable part of being human, because it's always going to be there, right? And if you face it head on, I think in the end it's going to bring us more happiness, because I guess that's the point, right? And I'm not here as a guru of anything. I'm just thinking out loud, really. uh, um, and now that you've asked the question, I guess what 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 makes you you, and what makes you happy, and try to find this, and probably you're going to find out that this is not a specific answer, and it shouldn't be. Is being aware of you are in the process of becoming, because that's life, right? And when you are aware of this, then I'd say go for it. You want to use AI to create something, create it. You want to use AI to, I don't know, to write a book, write it. I really don't mind, because the perspective from which you are gonna do things in the world is gonna be different. It's gonna be much more grounded. It's gonna be a perspective that's gonna be, in general, more aware of who you are and your place in the world, right? So again, we talk about AI, but I guess the opportunity here that AI brings us is that we can talk about everything that is not AI, which is ourselves and the society.
Okay, so when it's come to because I believe this is more general, not just for the business or university, but also for society. And I know that we discussed it at the beginning, but what is not AI? What is what we as human beings get wrong about AI?
AI, we understand AI as decision making, but when AI is making decisions for us, we're done. So AI shouldn't be
Who is
decision making.
responsible for it?
Yes, okay. So AI is understood as decision making, yes, but if we are letting AI make decisions for us, we are done. So AI shouldn't be decision making, which is a loop, right? We are stuck in a loop right now, because everyone is saying yes, we empower ourselves and we can let AI, agentic AI and generative AI, yes, we make decisions, business decisions and whatever for you, and you can focus on what's important. But this is, I mean, I guess the ethical part of it comes here, but also is the fact that we need to have some kind of a traceability kind of methods in order to know um, where this decision making comes from, because in the end we cannot they should be always in our hands, right? Like we should always have hands on the wheel, not one hand on the wheel and the other hand is AI. No, no, both hands on the wheel always. And AI is here just as that consultant that is great, that has a lot of data, that has a lot of power and capability to tell you things, but stays there. It always stays there, right? And we shouldn't romanticize this, right? And we shouldn't have. I mean, of course, the hype is there, and I understand the hype. But you know where I want to see AI? I want to see AI in medicine. I want to see AI in places where it can really make a difference, where humans cannot reach, right? But in the end, if you have an AI that can detect skin cancer, right, and can analyze like 100 moles of your body, and it can, you know, identify the thing that even a trained human doctor cannot identify, that's great. But again, the final decision is from the doctor because it needs to evaluate this,
Yes, indeed.
right? So take this as an example. So I wouldn't let anyone else, more or less a machine, to kind of determine my own health. Like I want to have, because that's how we are wired, because we are human beings. Like I want to have like a set of eyes and a face and a head and someone that looks at me and I can be reflected on that person. I can see it and that tell me, hey, you have this. Maybe it's bad, maybe it's not, but we're gonna help you. You know, so we need this, and I guess in health is a perfect example, and we understand this. But you know, in education
Hmm.
it's a bit harder to understand. But we need to have this. We need to have that kind of like that this set of eyes that look at you and say, hey, we're gonna go through this. You got this, right? And you're gonna learn. And I guess in business we can do business like this as well, but we don't for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
We really don't. But who's telling me that I cannot do business like this, and having people that understand other people and say, hey, we're gonna build this together, and yes, we're gonna put money, and because money is one of the biggest taboos in the world, right? We all of a sudden we need to be serious about it, and we need to. I mean, we need to be serious. You understand when I say that, right? I'm not saying we don't need to be serious. I'm saying that because I mean, being serious doesn't mean that we cannot be like, you know, we cannot work on this like human connection.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean we have to be best friends forever, no. But we can work on this from a, like from a place of humility, from a place of, you know, of understanding, from a place of, and I'm hopeful that the tendency nowadays is going to shift towards that kind of understanding of doing business, and because otherwise I feel it's going to be very hopeless.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there is one thing that I will like to share, but I will left open to debate in general.
Okay.
Otherwise, we will extend and continue talking
Yeah.
right now. So, for closing the this episode that I really enjoying is, I wanted to ask you what is the biggest challenge plus your biggest learning when it's come to the intersection of music, AI, and technology.
I guess that is the question, right? um, I guess it was gonna be easier to answer, but I'm saying it's not. um,
I'm
but that's
sorry.
fine. No, no, no. It's totally fine, because that means that you are onto something that is great. You know, if we were just asking easy questions, we wouldn't be here, right? So I guess the biggest learning is um things are not what they seem, in the sense of I can always Okay, let me rephrase this. I am not a professor, nor I am a composer, nor I am, you know, an expert on AI, nor I am whatever. I am me, and I am Rafael, right? So understanding that each one of these things is part of me, but don't define me necessarily, allows me to create bridges among all these disciplines. And the more I learn about different things, the more bridges I can create. So I guess the biggest learning, the biggest outcome is understanding that I'm in the process of becoming Rafael. I'm in the process of growing up personally and professionally, and as I grow up, I can teach more, and I am aware of the things that I lack and the things that I need to learn, right? So it's the process of knowing that I know a huge amount of many things, but that I am still missing a huge amount of many things, right? And that perspective only comes from bridging and understanding different perspectives and different disciplines, right? And of course, philosophy. I mean, yes, that helps a lot, but I guess is how you place yourselves in the world, right? Um, um, so you have to be confident enough to know that you can do something in the world and not stay in the student stage all your life. But you have to be, you know, um, aware enough and humble enough to know that there's always going to be a part of you that has to stay in that, like student, not a student, but maybe pupil, more than a student stage of your life. So it's a balance. I'm 27 now. Okay, so and my students are 20 21, right? So I'm not that far from them, but I'm a bit older than them. So I already see these things, and that's great for me, right? Because I feel so close to them in many ways, but in other ways I'm like, you're going through things that I've gone through this like some years ago. So I guess that kind of like intergenerational kind of which is something as old as time, right? So we are part of a society, and that's how things have been going on. Like
Yes.
the young listen to the old, and the old is the young, but now I guess what we can do is to finally recognize ourselves as equal, if we allow it, in the sense of, I want to talk to a 60-year-old person, and I would appreciate if they recognize me as an equal and they can teach me something, right? The same way I'm going to recognize that 18-year-old kid, and I'm going to recognize him as a person that is willing to learn, and I'm going to teach them something, because then it's like this process of learning and teaching, and that's one of the things that really makes sense, and I guess a huge part of that meaning we're talking about lies here, right? So that's on the one
Mm.
side, yes, that's the learning part. And the other question is like the most difficult thing, right? Or what was, how did you word it?
Yes, the challenge.
The challenge, right?
Yes. The challenge. What
And I
was
guess,
the biggest challenge so far? Yes.
right, the biggest challenge is, I guess, transmitting the approach. And in some cases and in some circles, when it was necessary, because when it's not necessary, but when it was necessarily, trying to make people understand that approach precisely, right? Because we live in an era of hyper specialization, and the question is, well, maybe I can try to be a specialist in more than one field, and I can precisely try to bridge the gaps between what we're talking about, right? So I guess, and I find myself many times, many times, um, people being very surprised when I could talk about music, and I could talk about composers and film composers, which I love, and then we can talk about AI and education, which apparently has nothing to do, right? but then here I'm trying to pitch these worlds and trying to make sense of them, and then and the magic is that I can come up with ideas and maybe I can write a book on them. But the thing is that I'm not the only one that can do this. So I guess the question is, if I can do this, and I'm trying to work my way, and it's hard, because I guess the challenge is how alone I can feel sometimes, and I can say it publicly. It's true. Like pursuing this kind of interest and learning can, and even though I can be surrounded with people, many times I feel so alone, right? And I feel very alone, and it's part of the process. And when you talk to people, I guess you see that, again, I'm not the only one that feels alone, right? So I guess also sharing the experiences and going through all these, and but then you do something, and you are so lucky that you are invited to a podcast just as this one, and then you get the chance to explain these approaches, and you realize that they make sense, and people understand, right? So that makes you feel less alone, right? So yeah, it's I guess it's part of figuring out how we do this, right? It's yeah.
Yeah. Yes, like one of the takeaways I could see now is the human part of it, is what is considered human in all this AI and technology era. What do we do about that? And also, like, getting to know yourself, your emotions, what can you do best, before jumping into any of these, because you need to be aware of how you will handle this rush and this consumption of the technology and the AI technology and the full
Yeah.
change that are happening right now, and it's in
Hmm.
particular that is changing so fast. So, promise, last question. Thank you for you being part of the podcast and sharing your perspective and your experience with the community. So, where do people can reach you?
Sure. They can find me on my website, which is rafeljaume.com. Okay. You can find everything I do there. You can find about my writings, like my academic work, my music compositions as well, all the talks that I do, whatever. So everything's gonna be there. And on my LinkedIn, and just feel free to DM me and shot me a message, and I'm pretty friendly, so I will I will answer you, and hopefully we can start a great
Yeah,
conversation. I won't bite.
yeah, indeed. Thank you very much, Rafael, again. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it a lot. We will see what happens next.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. A
Take care
pleasure.
of yourself, and thank you very much.
You too. Thanks.
When we will reach the point at which we understand the thin line between humans and AI, what makes us human? That is a wrap, and we hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as we did. We invite you to share it with your network so people who think this is valuable can learn and take what they need. We also ask for feedback on what other topics you all would like to hear so we can continue bringing value-added conversations to the community. If you want to know more about us, what we do, and how to participate in the podcast, reach us out to our official channels. Until next time.